What is up, fellas? It goes. I am Dan Valley coming at you with the one, the only, Mort Jensen of the NBA podcast fame, of Yahoo Sports fame, of Forbes' fame, and of OnlyFans celebrity. I
Right.
wanted to say OnlyFans sooner, but I like to close with that, so that's why I got tripped up at the
Yep.
beginning. We're coming at you early to start your weekend so that we can do the Eastern Conference portion of unfinished business, potentially, for every NBA team. In some situations, we're just sort of asking questions. This conference, relative to the West, once you move past the restricted free agency trio of Quentin Grimes, Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas, there's not like a whole lot more that needs to get done. So we're going to find stuff to talk about because that's what we do. But first and
Yep.
foremost, Mort, how the heck are you?
Well, I'm doing very well. It's funny you mentioning tripping because like when I do my OnlyFans content, I also trip. You know, that happens.
You just do acid on your OnlyFans? Is that what?
Dude, yeah, and you know what? I closed the chat off, so it's only me in there. That's the most fun part.
Any thoughts, notes on this exercise before we dive in? And we're going to try to not do. We did like 2 hours and 10 minutes.
We went way too long. So like my one note here is let's just try to keep it to 4 or 5 minutes per team as we originally discussed and agreed upon.
Yeah, I mean, if we get out of here in 75, that's a big accomplishment for us. If you have questions in the chat, we do love. Go ahead.
Yeah. I might actually open up the OnlyFans account if we get out of here in 75 minutes.
Well, we did have, when I posted about this on our like YouTube post community section, whatever it is, someone said the views would be higher if you would wear a tank top. And clearly you didn't see that comment because you're just in a regular t-shirt. So
I have one somewhere.
All right, let's get started. We're going to go in alphabetical order because we like to live dangerously, and anyone who's watched us before understands that that's always a little bit risky. We begin with the Atlanta Hawks. This one's actually interesting. This might be actually the most interesting topic of the entire thing. The Trae Young extension, depending on where you think the cap is going to come in at next year, I just have it at 7% because I'm an alarmist, as we established last time when we did the Western Conference. He can sign for like 4 years, 220-something million around there. It does seem universal among people that he's not going to get that, which I just find fascinating for someone who's an all-NBA caliber player. Where do you land on this, Mort?
Well, so I've just written about this over at Yahoo here today. I don't know if it's published yet, but basically the Mikal Bridges extension that checked in at 150 million, I think 37.5 million per year. I think that's a big indicator of where the market is right now. Like NBA teams are fully aware that they just can't hand out, 25 or 30% maxes to, fringe all-stars anymore because those aprons are legitimately restrictive. They are a problem. So now they're really trying to communicate with their players to let them know, look, you'll get paid. You just won't receive as big of a cap percentage as usual. Now, obviously, this doesn't include guys like Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, those guys. I mean, obviously, there are still the superstars.
Well, you think Nikola Jokic is a max player?
It's surprise. I know. Yeah, right.
The dude cares more about horses than he does about winning NBA games. Sorry.
I actually do think that's true, but that doesn't matter.
Then? I don't care.
Right. I don't care about that. Like as long you can care about two things at the same time, man.
No,
like
you can't, Mort. No, you can't.
That's right. Can't. That's right.
NBA only players, they only have. It's like those comments. I don't know if they're still frequent. Where people are like, why aren't you in the gym? Why are you posting about your 5-year-old's birthday or some shit? Yeah,
I hate it. Yeah, like the guy is in the gym literally 24/7. He's not supposed to sleep. What the hell?
I prefer my celebrities to be more relatable, and so the fact that like Kevin Durant is like terminally online, I almost appreciate it. I don't agree with most of what he says, but I just appreciate it.
Absolutely, and like, but getting back to answering your question, Dan.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2.5 hours to fill, remember?
No, but I think we're seeing a major differentiation between the superstars and the stars. And to me, the Trae Young discussion doesn't start with Trae Young. It starts in a couple days with De'Aaron Fox. That's when we really begin to see, like, what is the effect here? And it might have already have started with Bridges. Like, I don't think, and this was kind of the point I made in the Yahoo piece as well, which is, like, I think the Spurs, for example, have to look at that contract, the Bridges contract, and go, okay, so where do we actually rank Fox in all of this? Because he's clearly not the most important player on the team. He's clearly not, like, a tier 1 superstar. Like, he's in that middle area where he's an all-star, but he's not a superstar. Like, can we even justify a 30% cap hit on him? I don't think necessarily they're going in and deciding already and saying no, but they're not going in immediately going, yeah, automatically either. Like, that's a conversation. I'm fairly sure that's a conversation they're having internally and have had for a while. If he agrees to something along the lines of 22% instead of the 30%, I think that's going to reflect something in Trae Young's extension talks as well. I'd be very surprised if teams are just handing out full ride max level contracts to guys who aren't like the top tier elite.
I would agree with you. The reason I think I view Trae Young's extension as more of an inflection point than De'Aaron Fox's is because the Spurs have another cornerstone there,
right,
who's clearly more important. And in Atlanta, I mean, if you think that it could be Jalen Johnson or if you think that it's Zachary Risachet, I would say that's arguable at best. I think Trae Young is clearly the guidepost for what this team is going to do.
So we're extending on a curve?
No, I'm not saying we're extending on a curve, but wouldn't you argue Trae Young is more important to Atlanta than De'Aaron Fox is to San Antonio?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, because of Wemby. But like, again, if you give Trae Young the max, could we be looking at another Zach LaVine situation where we're like, oh, look, he's earning too much, but like he was clearly the best player on the team?
I'm not saying he's a no-brainer max. I was just making the point that I think what he gets in his extension is going to be more telltale than what De'Aaron Fox does, because in theory, Trae Young should have more leverage because he is more important to his team.
Okay, that way, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And but I agree with your other point is that the benchmark for these max deals, especially after the 25% maxes, I do think it's going to go higher. I tend to be a little bit higher on Trae as a player than most others, but at this point, if he gets max money on a per year basis, I would be shocked if it's because he signed a full 4-year deal. I would automatically think it's like 2 years plus a team option or something. And I'm just curious, I thought Jaren Jackson Jr., there might be a little bit of this, but is this something that he might just kick the can on and not sign an extension and then go into free agency, or he has that player option and he could extend off that if he wants? There are more teams with cap space, but he's in next summer, but he's in a weird situation where let's use Mikal Bridges as an example. If Mikal Bridges hit the open market next year, I think he would have more suitors than Trae Young just because he fits more places. It's sort of the James Harden problem where he's very good, but you have to tailor so much around him that fewer teams are going to be in on him. And like Mikal Bridges is maybe someone, he's so plug and play. Would a team like the Jazz, for instance, that's just earlier on in the rebuild, take a look at him? I honestly don't know how it's going to end, but I think that he's going to end up becoming this financial touchstone for how a lot of these extensions and free agency deals go moving forward. And do you have any prediction or thoughts on what you think is going to, do you think he signs one? What would you guess about the price point?
I'm guessing he's going to get the full ride. And I think because there are hints, Dan, there are hints. Okay. So the Jalen Johnson contract, for example, that's a flat rate of an even $30 million. I think they also had Onyeka Okongwu back on a very team-friendly deal. They obviously have some rookie contracts in form of Zachary Risachet and Risachet, by the way. I have to say it right. I don't want to become Americanized in the names of the French players. And then you have KP.
Sir, you're talking to a Patriot.
I know. I'm sorry. Thanks for your service, I guess. With Porzingis, he's an unrestricted free agent. Like it seems like, quote unquote, they can afford to go that route. It seems like they're bracing themselves for that, impact of him signing the max deal, or at least very near max deal. I don't think we're going to look at the next Trae Young contract and go, 18% of the cap. Like, no way. That's not going to be a realistic expectation. Now, would I prefer Trae at the fun max level, the 25? Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be good. That'd be great. Are we sure that he'd accept that? Because I'm not.
If I was him, I would be pushing for, so it's 4 years and 222.4, and it could be a little bit higher than that, but I'd absolutely be pushing for the full thing. I don't think he's going to get it. If I was the Hawks, I might actually give it to him, but I think you're like the first person I've seen predict that he's going to get the full ride. That's what makes it so fascinating.
Look, again, that's just trying to read the tea leaves. And look, reading the tea leaves, you can be wrong. Like, the tea leaves can fuck you up, Dan.
Yeah, because I almost looked at it reverse, where it's like, okay, they might be set up to accommodate a higher salary now, but I looked
Mhm.
at it as saying, would they front load it to where maybe he's making more than his player option or his player option,
Oh,
and then you're declining. So it's like, oh, he got, let's say what is it? So we had 4 and 222. Let's say they give him 4 and 200, but it
yeah.
starts at his max, and then it goes
Oh,
down from
that'd be
there or
fun.
something. That's
Yeah,
that's
I like
that would
that.
be that'd be because now you're talking about, okay, Ricochet will eventually get more expensive. As you mentioned, if you want to keep Porzingis, you do have to worry about, okay, next year maybe it's easier
Yeah.
to fit in the structure, but if it's more than 1 year, Onyeka Okongwu's not going to be super cheap forever. You have to start thinking about. Well, I mean, Asa Newell just came in the league, so they are set up to where I guess they could, but
You
I think.
realize Okongwu has 3 years left on his deal, right?
Oh, he's only 1 year into his extension. Okay,
Yeah, he's got
I
3 more years.
But I guess between the Porzingis stuff and then all of a sudden this time next, like we're going to be at Zachary Ricochet's extension
Mhm.
eligibility in 2 years from now. I'm just curious if they're going to be worried about, if you give him the full max, you're talking about Trae Young on an upswinging number, then
Yeah.
the things start to get difficult. So I think he will sign. If he signs for more than like 2 years, like I think it'll be a front-loaded deal for less than the max. I think that's
I
well
like that
into it.
one better than my prediction because I think that is just the smart play, especially with the cap projection coming in at 7% instead of the 10%. If you can front load the everlasting crap out of that one, so it just lowers your cap hit moving forward. Yeah, that's smart. I like that solution.
And the final thing I'll just say is where he
Right.
does lose leverage is while there are more teams with cap space next summer. Like I don't think like the Lakers or the Clippers probably aren't going to be a Trae Young team. I wouldn't think. Detroit, if they opt for cap space because for some reason they're not going to keep Jaden Ivey or Jalen Duren or maybe both, whatever, or both are super cheap. That's not a Trae Young team. Utah would really want to have to fast track something and be out on
Mhm.
Isaiah Collier, and so that's where he might lose leverage. I guess I don't know if the Clippers were getting rid of Harden because the Lakers have Luka. They're not going after Trae Young. I guess the Clippers could maybe talk themselves into it, but I just don't. I don't have the clear cut Trae Young team.
I don't either, and we're 12 minutes in.
That's what we had a 4-minute intro. That's pretty good for us. And some of these are going to be quicker because, like this one, Mort, the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big man rotation. I know they're not trying to be.
Sorry, which big man rotation? What?
Yeah, exactly. Their best big man is George Niang. That's inarguable. I want to ask you a question. Who is Boston's second best big man?
Oh God. Yeah,
Is
that's a
it
good.
Luka Garza, Namias Keita, Xavier
No.
Tillman? Does Hugo
It-
Gonzalez count as a
Like
big?
by
Does Sam Hauser
default,
count as a
Tillman.
big?
I like Tillman. I like Tillman a lot. I actually do. I think he's been underutilized for a while. But like, I'm also beginning to reach that point where like the stock that I had in him is starting to wane a little bit because it can't just be me sitting on that island and everyone else is like out on him. So like I think I'm in the wrong there, but I would go to Tillman just personally. But God, that's a depressing question. That's a really depressing question.
And by the way, because they're still looking to cut money. Like, there's no guarantee that George Niang just stays on this team because he is an expiring contract. I would think it's Keita, but I think the point stands that, okay, what are we doing here? I know they're not trying to contend for a title, but they're not going to are we expecting them to just so egregiously tank that they're
Yeah.
okay with this? You
Yeah.
are. So, I mean, then,
So how much do you know about the 2026 draft?
very little. You know, I only do a crash course, right?
All right, but you know
beforehand
there are
and then
3 guys at the top who are like potential franchise players, right?
What? I think, is this talking about maybe Ben Simmons signing with the Celtics? So
I mean,
that
look,
could be a
that'd be
big man.
smart. That'd be a tank commander. Like I'm not seriously. I know that everyone is like, oh, the Celtics won't tank. I get that. I'm not ruling out that scenario whatsoever.
So what do you do with Derek White and Jalen Brown in that? I know you don't. Are you shutting them down, putting them on a maintenance program?
No, I mean, look, again, you're basically telling Jalen Brown to like, oh, okay, you want to channel your inner superstar because you've been talking about like how you are a top NBA player for years now. Go prove it. And look, he's not, so I wouldn't be worried. He's going to shoot you out of a lot of games.
That's full. First of all, I think that's a really. I think you might be a little low on Jalen Brown, but my bigger point would be
I am low on Jalen Brown. Yeah.
But my thing is if Boston wants to go the tanking route, the actual thing to do would be no, Jaylen Brown don't play because he's played a lot of basketball the past few years and he's dealt with some of this injury, weird lower body. Like he has an Achilles issue this year. So if that's, I just didn't expect him to go full on.
You can shut him
tank.
down. You can shut him down. It's fine. I don't think he moves the needle all that much. And I think with Derek White, I love Derek White, but I don't think he is, what's the wording here? A featured player. Like, I don't think he's a guy you can give the ball and just basically say, hey, your usage rate has to go up like 15 percentage points and he'll maintain his level of efficiency. I don't think that is the case. I think we were all so enamored by the Celtics when they title, and rightfully so, because like that was the perfect totem pole hierarchy. That hierarchy is completely broken now. So I'm basically just sitting back with my popcorn going, oh, yeah, you guys want Darren Peterson next year, huh? That's great. Let's go for him. Because I would not be shocked whatsoever this team is thinking about trying to get one of those guys in there.
I think I'd be fairly surprised. If it was a midseason decision, sure, but then you've lost valuable tanking ground. To lead us back to the actual topic here, though, so I guess you don't expect them to do anything. Like the big man rotation is.
I don't want them to do anything because I actually think tanking would be the right course of action here. Like if you're here's the thing.
If you're gonna tank, you should trade Derek White then.
Okay,
just because
cool. I don't care. That's fine.
Okay.
Trade Derek White if you can. I'm down with that. That's fine. But I think if you're looking at this situation, you know that there's no chance in hell to make a run in the playoffs in 2026. Like, you can sit here and say, oh, a gap year, we're taking a year off. No, take a year off with purpose. And the purpose is going to try to get a guy who can be a future franchise player for your team. Absolutely. And look, it isn't like the Celtics haven't done it before, not in this particular vein, but back in the 80s and 90s, they made sure to always have replenished cupboards. Like, again, what was it? They drafted Len Bias second. I think, was that via a trade? They actually got that pick, but like that was during the Larry Bird years. So this isn't a team that's afraid of having high draft picks while they're also having like established players. Hell, just going back to the Kyrie situation when he was there, they were trying to develop Jalen and Jason while also trying to be competitive with Kyrie and whatnot. This is a team that's shown that they can have one leg into each camp.
This is different though, because it's easier to like they reversed it. It's easier to already be young and developing and say identify a star veteran versus doing it in like the inverse order. I also think I think you're underestimating how hard it is for them to tank. Like the big man rotation is bad, but look at the bad teams in like Utah is not trying to win. The Pelicans think they're trying to win, but they're not going to. Just to even be in the bottom 6 of the league is just. They're not like.
Isn't that almost an asset nowadays with how the lottery shakes out, Dan?
But then, I guess you could look at who's won the lottery the past 3 years. But then that's not tanking, though. That's them going through a gap year, which you just disparaged.
Well, you're still trying to tank to the best of your availability or to the capability. Sorry.
If they do that, it better be in service of resting Jaylen Brown rather than because I don't think he's like there's no way Jaylen Brown's a tank commander.
Okay, well, I mean, look,
that's an awful
whatever,
take by you,
whatever
honestly.
they need to do. I think it's the right play because otherwise, what the hell are you trying to do? Just win 40 games and sneak yourself into like the play-in? Big whoop. What do you gain from that?
Noah Odich says in the East, the Celtics could stand pat and still avoid the play-in. That's probably fair. Like Cleveland, the Knicks, the Pistons, the Magic, the Heat, the Hawks should all be there. And then you have, if the Sixers are healthy, the Raptors have a lot of talent. What are the Pacers going to do without Halliburton? It seems like they're trying to win. I think the Hornets are still probably going to be pretty bad because their center situation, we'll get to them in a second. Then you have Washington. Brooklyn's going to try to be bad. The Bulls are just, they'll win, 34 games and call it between 34 and 39 games, and that'll be it. I just don't. Man, generational hater. Derek White is an elite role player, not a scalable star that can handle being the top scouting report. That's probably true, but he's also shot like 40% from 3 in his time with Boston while Jaylen Brown and or Jason Tatum's off the floor. So I just wouldn't discount him still being good.
No, he's good. I'm not sitting here and saying he's a crappy NBA player when they're not there. I'm saying you probably can't rely on him over the course of an 82 game schedule by increasing his workload significantly.
So I guess what I was saying about the big man rotation is that they then need to tie this together somehow, because I think that their front line sends like a message that their perimeter core isn't sending the same message, if that makes sense. They're just, the big man rotation could scream, we're trying to tank next year, but there's just, between Simons and Brown and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser, there's so much talent on the perimeter that if you're going to keep that and you're not looking to cut more salary this summer, I think they just need to go out and get a more competent big. I'm not
That's
saying
fair.
go trade for Walker Kessler, but like go out there and like, can you sign Chris Boucher? You knew I was going to bring his name. Can you go get Jonathan Mobo from the fucking Raptors? They have 9 trillion bigs right now. You want to develop somebody. So I would like to see them do something like that, was my point. But if you had to guess, do you think that they're not going to do something like that? That's how you're.
I see. I could guess on. I could sit here and guess and say they want to have a center or a big man just to appease the fan base, because again, it's also a big sell to a fan base where you won the championship, 13, 14 months ago, and then just say, oh, hey, we're trying to be deep in the lottery next year. That's a big sell. What I want them to do is just don't focus on winning a single game this year. Like, it has to be all about like trades, player development, although looking at that roster, who the hell is there really to develop?
I mean, Hugo Gonzalez is there. They could give him minutes.
There,
There's Baylor
right.
Shireman.
And Jordan Walsh, I guess.
I'm over the Jordan.
Right.
Yeah,
but honestly, I just think if you have to have the gap year, I think you have to do it with a purpose. That's it.
I would agree with you. I just think that the roster's sending mixed messages right now. And so I think you either better turn around.
This isn't a dating app. This is the NBA, man. Like,
well, so it's either there needs to be a big man transactions here, or like you need to start like stripping. There needs like Simons needs to be traded, or Pritchard or Hauser, or just somebody to make you even weaker on the perimeter. I mean, you just shat on him for about another 8 minutes. So what is who's going to give up value for Jaylen Brown?
I'm not saying that the rest of the NBA has as low an opinion of Jaylen Brown as I do.
I think the Spurs, the Raptors would be good teams for him. Who else would be a good Jaylen Brown
Raptors. The Raptors would be fun. Yeah. Just add another wing. Don't even send a wing back to Boston. Just
don't trade Barrett or Ingram as part of that trade. That would be, if you were looking for a real like sort of galaxy branding, you trade Jaylen Brown for Ingram and stuff like picks. I don't know what else that deal looks like. Young players. Yeah. And then you're saying, okay, Brandon Ingram, we think can be at least what? So he makes, let's say, 70%, 80% of what Jaylen Brown does. They'll probably bet that he can be 70 to 80% of Jaylen Brown, but you've ensured that you'll probably be worse this year, because you can say, oh, Brandon Ingram's coming back from his injury. We want to slow play this. That would be interesting. What other team could I see giving up that? Like, would Atlanta think about it?
I mean, they've been mentioned quite a lot whenever Jaylen Brown trade scenarios has popped up. So I don't hate that. The question is, what do you give up?
Would you trade Ricochet for Jaylen Brown? It'd have to be Johnson or Ricochet is one of the pieces going out.
Look, if I'm putting all my chips into the Trae Young basket, I will have to accelerate it a little bit, because Ricochet is not gonna be, in his prime until Trae is like closing in on 30 pretty aggressively. So, and we know what happens to small guards when they hit that age grouping. So yeah, I'd probably be willing to accelerate the timeline.
I guess they don't have enough. I was going to say Minnesota, if you built something around Gobert and Dillingham, or maybe even be Jaden McDaniels and Dillingham, and that, but they don't have picks to give. That's tough. I'd be curious if Jaylen Brown, I don't think he gets traded, but if he is, I'd be curious to know what the winning bid looks like on that. So I think the Boston Celtics need to add a big man as the moral of the story, and I'll be monitoring that. And if they don't, I would expect another trade to come that makes them worse. The Nets. So I think we just blow through the Cam Thomas thing. What do you think happens with this, Mort? What's going on here?
I think he gets re-signed to a short deal, and with the mindset or agreement that, hey, look, you're going to get this deal. It's going to be short. We're going to try to trade you to a destination where you might be able to earn more money in a couple of years.
Depending on their order of, I think, if he gets more than 2 guaranteed years, like maybe they finally tack on a 3rd year with a team option, I'll be floored. I think that's just what he's going to end up doing.
Yep.
Do you think there's any chance he's the one of these, core 4 restricted free agents that signs his qualifying offer?
I would probably look at Kuminga as the most likely to do so, but I'm not ruling out this scenario because he seems to be the most frustrated of the bunch.
Really, I feel like Kuminga seems to be the most frustrated. It's
I
years
think,
in the making.
well, Kuminga is like, he's passive aggressive. Cam seems outright upset sometimes. Like, oh, look at, like, he has to, like, the feud, like him trying to pick a fight with Zach Lowe. Like, oh, I'm that guy. Like, he seems to be very frustrated about this situation. And I'm not blaming him. I mean, it's fair to, like, not know what the hell is up. Like, it's August now and you don't really know what is going on with your NBA team. Like, yeah, that makes sense. I'd be frustrated too.
I think he'll end up getting no more than 2 guaranteed years. So, and
That
also
seems
just
fair.
with the number of like quote unquote could be ball handlers the Nets just drafted, they're clearly not thinking about Cam Thomas as a long-term part of the program. The other interesting thing about them though is, do you expect them, depending on the order of operations, it could be 22, 28 million in cap space. It could be a lot more than that if they just let Thomas go. Do you think that they'll use any more of that before the offseason is over? Not necessarily to sign somebody, but as part of a trade, or do you think they're saving it for more of a mid-season acquisition, if just to maybe even try and roll it over into next summer even?
So let's see, how close are they to the floor? What are we looking at here? Are they at the floor? Not quite.
I thought they were there already after the. I thought that was also part of their calculus with the Porter Jr. trade. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'll double check it. But
okay, if they are at the floor, no, I don't expect them to do anything major. Like, yeah, look, if something materializes where they can get a guy where they can absorb his deal, maybe a bad contract, and they can take a pick for doing that, yeah, I think they'd be open to that, like, immediately.
They're $9 million below the salary floor, and that's with. I was actually caking in a higher salary for Cam Thomas, expecting them to get there, but I think they'll need to use like another $6 million. If it's 2 for 28 or 2 for 30, they would probably still have to spend like $5 or $6 million somewhere.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are enough talent left in the free agency market to get that done. So yeah, I'm not worried about that. They'll find a way, but they're definitely open to doing the scenario I just proposed before. Absolutely. If they can rent out that cap space, especially if it's only for a year, like, yeah, absolutely. But the question is, who out there are that desperate to get off a deal to the point where they're willing to relinquish a draft pick? I don't know who that is.
Right now, it doesn't seem like there would be a lot of teams,
right. Exactly.
But mid-season, if you're not as good as you expect and you're trying to get out of the tax, or you're a team that's trying to complete a trade and like you have to navigate the aprons and you need someone to take on money, I would argue, because most of the bulk of the offseason business seems like it's already done, the cap space, if they leased it out mid-season, would net them more than if they were going around to teams right now. And
I agree. So basically what we agree on the path here is they meet the salary floor, because you have to do that before the start of the regular season. And then they just use whatever remaining cap space they have to go into the trade deadline and say, oh, you guys need to facilitate a trade, and you need money to do so. Here we are.
So unless our math is wrong, because I should have checked the salary floor stuff before we did this.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this question really quick. Is Cam Thomas worth a first if he takes, say, $15 million times 2 years? I could see a team like giving up an end of the round first for him, but I don't know the team. Like, I'm trying to think of contenders, and like they just don't have a first to give, but like he might make some kind of sense.
I mean, look,
is another score.
2 years, $15 million. So what are we?
No, it's 2 for 30. I'm assuming is what this is. If he
sorry, no, I mean one. Yeah, I meant $15 million a year over 2 years, right?
Okay.
So, right. So let's workshop this. So when would that trade happen? At the trade deadline?
Oh yeah, I mean it would have, because his eligibility would be
exactly
January or whatever.
So basically, what you're paying a first rounder to have him for a year and a half. You're paying a first rounder to have him for potentially 2 playoff years. I don't hate that. Like, I think Cam Thomas has become a little underrated. I think we're so quick always with the undersized scorers to like put them into this bracket of, oh, you're not affecting a game, you're just there. And like, yeah, I get that he's not a perfect player. I absolutely get that. But for a guy who can come in and average 24, who can get to the free throw line, who can hit threes off the bounce, who can like make stuff happen scoring wise, I think we have in a broad sense, overcorrected and always go, oh, well, I want that 6'8" wing who can play defense, a great bunch. I don't care that he only scores 4 points per game. And I think that's ridiculous. You also need guys who can come in and just get you points, because that is so crucial to win games. So I think I would give up at first if I'm a team that feels like a Cam Thomas injection can significantly improve my offense, especially heading into the playoffs. So I have a guy who I can either start, who I can bring off the bench, where I can say, look, I need you to just score. I don't need you to facilitate. I don't need you to rebound. I just need you to go get buckets. Yeah, I think that's a first round worth. Again, there are degrees to it, of course.
And look, there's part of the calculus too could be you're able to send the Nets more money as well while taking back Cam Thomas. So that could be part of the value you're getting.
That too.
The other thing, though, is do you think the Nets have – like, what would be the harm in what I was saying about the salary floor before is if you – let's say you needed another – like what's the harm in giving him a 2-year, $40 million deal with the team option if that gets it done to get past the salary floor? Like, wouldn't they maybe consider shouldn't they consider something like that rather than – like if they don't, even if they don't have, like, even if that puts you past the salary floor, kind of who cares? Yeah. That might make doing some business in the middle of the season easier.
I don't mind. Like you can go with either option, really. Like if you find out that you guys are not meant to be or whatever, okay, you can take the money and you can use it at the trade deadline and see if you can facilitate something and get assets in return, or you can spend it on Cam Thomas. Those are really your two options. I don't think there's a wrong answer there.
And the final note here is it does seem like, just based off what they're offering Cam Thomas, that they also do want to have, and then their draft pick situation, it's headed to Houston in 27. It does seem like they still want to have maybe not $100 million in cap space or whatever, but it seems like they want to have like $30 or $40 million in cap space still in the tank for next summer.
Sure. Who wouldn't?
Well, is that something that they should prioritize, is my point, given where they're at in their competitive life cycle, is what I was asking.
Well, I mean, look, trying to get cap space nowadays, some will view it as a fool's errand because who is out there, but that's not how you should gauge and view free agency. If you have money during the summer, it also makes you a trade candidate. It gives you so many options in terms of taking on bad money, help facilitate trades. Like the flexibility of having money is not to be undersold. But eventually, we're also going to have to be realistic, because if we keep seeing guys sign extensions and they're just like nobody on the market year after year after year, then teams are also pretty aware that, oh, there's a team that's going into enter the season trying to facilitate instead of signing someone. We're not going to give up anyone to just give them more draft picks. So, look, there are a lot of ways to skin a cat. We'll see what they try to do.
I actually just don't think it should be as big of a priority for them. I'm fine with them doing it, but it's just not something I would split hairs over.
You can do them anyway. You can do many different things.
We move on to another big man rotation that to me is questionable. The Charlotte Hornets, the center rotation. Is this the plan at center? Is it just we have Moussa Diabate, who I'm actually, like, to be fair, I'm kind of intrigued by. Like, he's shown flashes while he's been in Charlotte. But then it's Mason Plumlee. Like, what are we doing? Do you want to play Tijon Salon at the 5 sometime next year? If they're a team that's not trying to tank, if you have a healthy LaMelo Ball and you just also like have all these other guards, you acquired Colin Sexton, you draft Liam McNeely, Con Knipple. I mean, those guys have size, but they're like 2-3s at best. They're a team. Just when you look at maybe what Boston is trying to do to going through a gap year versus what Charlotte's trying to do after moving Mark Williams, it feels like they could use a flyer at the center position too.
They have Ryan Kalkbrenner, and you didn't even mention it. I
did mention him in the article I wrote about their center position.
That's great. That doesn't help us right now, though.
Yes, it does, because I just mentioned it. So you're
welcome. I'm not really worried about their center position. I'm more worried about their health. I'm more worried about getting Miles Bridges off the damn roster. I'm more worried about a plethora of other things. The center position is like, 0.7 or something like on my to-do list there. This team, if we want to center on centers, you can go in a different direction there and just test things out. Like, what are your internal expectations? I think is going to be my question here, because yeah, you're going to need someone at the 5 who can really play consistent minutes and give you consistent production if you're trying to make the playoffs. Is that your aspiration? What are you trying to achieve this year? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, the internal evaluation of themselves, that is a fair question. There's also something to the effect of you I would think would want more of a consistent or bankable center to do work that's going to open up things, whether it's screening for LaMelo or some of the other
Right,
guards. And
right.
like right now, I point to Diabate is just like their best option. Like Mason Plumlee isn't going to can still set screens, but like teams aren't worried about Mason Plumlee. And so I think that's where there's value because it's interesting. You can over-index on not having enough. I don't want to say just veterans, but like dependable talent because I'm really a big believer in impact players, even if you don't view them as long-term pieces or even if they're
Mm-hmm.
not young, they can streamline the development for everybody else. And,
Yep.
looking at a Knipple, a McNeely, like guys like KJ Simpson, if they have any equity invested, like depending on what they think about him, or if you're trying to boost up Colin Sexton's trade value, I think getting a better big, even if you, as Chandler SV says in the chat, feels like a soft tank, show promise with some talented young guards and wings, but still not win too many games. I totally think that's
That's,
fine.
yeah.
I think they
Same.
need at least one higher end center. And I'm not saying a star, go trade a first round pick for a center or anything, but I think to help in service of that agenda, you need to get a better like top center option in here.
But at least we know they won't struggle at the center position when they play the Celtics.
Yeah, who is there? These are pretty clearly the two worst center positions in the league, like rotations in the league right now. Right?
Yeah, I think so, right? I'm struggling to come up with someone else.
I mean, like, Indiana's is questionable. Like, I like Jay Huff, but
Right.
then it's James Wiseman, and then it's
Yeah,
Isaiah
that's
Jackson.
pretty bad too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad too. And it's all in
So-
the East. Okay, right. The
I mean,
West is back to
does that
100.
surprise you?
No, not really.
Well, I'm just asking. Well, no, they have Yves Missi. I was about to name the Pelicans to where it's like defensively, if you want Derek Queen to be a center, even what does Kevon Looney have left? But they have Yves Missi, so
just had to throw them in there for Pelicans fans. You just have to twist.
I
the
mean,
knife.
like, if
Okay.
the Hornets or the Celtics should just turn around and trade for Duop Reith already. The Blazers keep burying him. Like, they get rid of
Yep,
Ayton,
same.
but they add
That's
Jan
a good one.
Hansen. So
Yep.
go get Duop Reith. But
Or Jalen Smith from Chicago too. There are guys on the benches around the league who can do something. Yeah.
Chandler SV says, I also think they really believe in Musa. I'm a fan, but I don't know. I don't see a starting center. Like kind of a fringe starting center or something. I think that he has shown a lot. I actually just wrote something about him that'll go live soon, so I won't spoil it. I like him. I just want someone other than like Mason Plumlee or Kalkbrenner or let's downsize. I'd echo with Mort, hey, let's get rid of Miles Bridges. I mean, you could take on maybe a more expensive center than teams want if they're interested in Miles Bridges. So that would be a route they could go. My final question here, based off the Hornets' roster, what type of big would you rather see added? Is it more of a screen and rim runner, lob threat, or do you think that they could benefit from having more of a stretch 5 next to their ball handlers right now?
Give them all the space that they need. Like if the Bulls and Nikola Vucevic are finally on the outs,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do they get the Bulls probably want Miles Bridges because they're the Bulls, right? So like I'd trade Miles Bridges for Nikola Vucevic. He's like one of the least impactful scorers I think in NBA history. Just full stop. So we move on. Speaking of the Bulls, Mort, we move on to them. This one's easy. What will Josh Giddey get?
Yeah, that's super easy. He wants 30. They want to pay him closer to 20. I think he should get like 15. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know what he's going to get, but if it's between 20 and 30, I have questions. But again, it's not a surprise. Look, last season, or rather last summer, I said as much on the NBA podcast. I said, this is what's going to happen in 24-25. Josh Giddey will have these outrageous numbers, like the raw numbers. He'll have the triple doubles. Everyone will get so infatuated with the raw stats that they will say, oh, he's worth 25, 30 million. Lo and behold, this is what happened. It's like the efficiency numbers are bad. He's not a great finisher. There are so many question marks around him. If he walks away with a long-term deal at more than 25, I think that's very, very optimistic on behalf of the Bulls. But I think me personally, what I think would be a smart solution here is somewhat similar to the Cam Thomas situation, a 2-year balloon deal, perhaps. Like, okay, You can give him 20 or whatever, 25 million a year over, not over 2 years, per year over 2 years. So 45, 50 million, whatever. And then go from there. Like, why not?
They do have all the leverage. Man, if he only gets 2 guaranteed years, I'd probably set the minimum at 3 for him. And I would argue that the 4th would be a player option, even if it's not guaranteed. So for him, it would be guaranteed. I guess they do have the leverage because who's coming in? Like the Jazz have the huge trade exception,
Right.
and there's the Nets with cap. Like they're not giddy teams, I wouldn't think. Anyway, I mean, I guess Utah.
No, and it seems like the Bulls want the years as well, right? Like, no, wait a second. Actually, I'm going to correct myself there because I do believe that Casey Johnson said about 3 or 4 weeks ago that they were also disagreeing on the years. I might be misremembering. If someone in the chat remembers that, please let me know. That seems to be ringing a bell. So, like, if they disagree about the years as well, like, I imagine Josh Giddey would want a lot of years plus the 30 million, right? Like, that seems like the ask.
Let's set the over because I just don't have anything to add. I'm with you where I don't think he's worth $30 million a year. I don't know what he's worth. It's closer to 15 than 30, I would think.
Yep.
I'm going to set the over under at $22.5 million on average for the life of the contract. Are you going to take the over or the under on that?
On what I think or what he should?
No, not what he should. On what you think ends up happening.
I think over.
I agree. Now I'm going to set the over under at guaranteed years at 2.5. So it has to be 3 or more.
Unfortunately, thinking the over again. I don't expect competence from the Bulls whatsoever.
Now, if I set it at 3.5, so it would have to be 4, would you still take the over? Because I think I would.
Yeah, I think I would too, unfortunately. Yeah. Look, again, it's a great way to, get a guy in who gets nice stats and keep butts in seats for whatever reason while they, roll ahead to 38 wins and a play-in seed. Like, that's, stay the course. Bulls don't ever change. You're the most predictable thing ever in the history of sports.
So would you like to talk about the Billy Donovan extension next? Is that what you're saying? We can move on. I think that's
a smart idea.
I honestly, would this be a signal if you saw he got maybe he still gets 4 years, but it's like $20 million a year, even if it's just a 2+1? Would you take that as a signal as, oh, the Bulls are not like completely out of their minds?
I mean, yeah, that would definitely improve things. Like, I'm not one to sit here and just crap on the Bulls relentlessly for when they do good things. Like, that's not, like, again, I've complimented them up the wazoo when it came to the new deals for Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. Then I've criticized them for not getting rid of those, not getting rid, that's the wrong wording, but not trading those guys when their value were at the highest. But like, for them to negotiate those deals, I thought that was very, very smart. The Jalen Smith contract, I thought was extremely well done. Like, so they have some strengths in terms of roster construction, but they so rarely lean into it. And if that's their only strength, contract negotiation, but they still are just so bad at making trades, and they're so bad at making draft picks, and they're so bad at every other asset and facet of team building, what the hell will, that it all result in? That, oh, we can re-sign our guys at good cost. Great. Your guys suck.
Whoa. Do you think there might be something to they're better at negotiating contracts in the backcourt than the front court? Just you look at Vooch, you look at Patrick Williams. Yeah.
Look, I mean, to your point, Trey Jones, they did a pretty good they did good work on that one too. So yeah.
And here's this, the Lonzo contract was really good, and then they proceeded to trade him for someone on a worse Isaac Okoro's more of a guard though, but you could count him as a 3 if you want to. So there might be something.
I like him more as a 3 than a 2 personally, but like, yeah.
Well then there you go.
Yeah. It's all pointless. Let's move on.
We go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Will we get any veteran extensions, Mort? And the names to circle: Dean Wade, DeAndre Hunter, Darius Garland, and Max Strus are all extension eligible. Do you think any of them will get an extension?
So I have a take about the DeAndre Hunter thing. I loved his season. We saw genuine improvement this season. He stopped hesitating. He became, when you say trigger happy, it sounds negative, but not not with him, because he was always one of those guys where when he was in Atlanta, you were kind of pissed off when he was like, he would look at an open three, he would think about it, and he wouldn't do it. We saw a different mindset for him this year. So, like, on the surface, I would be like, hey, yeah, definitely extend DeAndre Hunter. But at the same time, we only have 1 year of data with him with this improved play. So there's a part of me that wants to be a little cautious here and just be on the safe side. Like, let us see it 1 more year before we're like investing 25, 28 million a year into this guy or whatever the number might be. I just need to see more of it. I'm not there where I feel 100% comfortable extending him off of the play from this year.
That's interesting because I think I might be. Just I would be a little bit worried when you're looking at, okay, now Mikal Bridges is one wing off the 26 free agency market. There's not just like to get a plug and play wing who's, you said, more comfortable taking his threes. And he also, he's not, that's right. He has 2 years left on his deal. So no, I'm with you. Right. I thought he only had 1. So
no. It's got 1 more.
So that's totally, I think that's a fine stance to take then. It's the same thing with Max Strus. He has 2 years left on his deal. The Dean Wade one is, if you're going to guarantee his salary, I don't think they've guaranteed it yet. That's maybe semi-interesting, just if he's willing to re-sign at kind of the same number to have him as either a future trade chip or just, I mean, like, the stuff he could do defensively for them when he's healthy is really important. Darius Garland's interesting, though, because part of me is like, well, he has 3 years, like, in total left on his current deal, but there's been some risky business there with the injuries. Would it make more sense to just sign him to the 2-year extension so you're not into him for as many years, or are you just kind of trying to roll this along and see where you're at when he's eligible for a 3-year extension next summer?
Will he take a discount?
I don't know. I mean, my guess would be probably not. I mean, we just had this conversation about Trae Young. This is another instance where are the Cavs hoping, is he going to get a reality check from seeing what De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young get, and then next summer, like, they'll be able to broker an extension that they think more reflects maybe not his market value, but just more, okay, where are these non-top 15 players going to be? Right. Like, Darius Garland for much of last season was borderline all NBA. So I think if you're signing him to a 2-year,
he's really good.
Yeah.
I have Garland over Trae and Fox personally.
I'd probably have Trae in front of Garland and Garland in front of Fox if we're building out, if you're saying the next 5 years or whatever. But yeah, that's a good point taken. So no, I don't think he would give them a discount on a 2-year extension right now, unless when De'Aaron Fox signs a deal and it's did De'Aaron Fox just sign for $30 million a year or some shit? I need to lock this in now if the Cavs are going to give me more. But what's been interesting about the Cavs is, okay, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, like, those extensions were no-brainers, but like Jarrett Allen, like, they seem to prioritize, we want to have if we're going to get rid of players, like, we'll do it via trade. We don't want to let them get to free agency, which is what a lot of other teams are doing, but they're doing it with guys who maybe you wouldn't necessarily think should be. Like the Jarrett Allen stuff, him signing an extension after the way, like, he was thrown under the bus at one point was fascinating. So I don't think we're going to get any veteran extensions, especially because they're so deep into, if I had to, here's a good question, and I'll answer it myself. Are they more likely to sign someone to an extension of the players we named, or actually cut salary from their luxury tax bill for the rest of the offseason? And I would pick the latter pretty confidently. I'm not saying they'll do either, but I think it's more likely that they say, yeah, we just want to trim, like, they're $20 million past the second apron, right? So if they don't want to pay for a roster that's approaching, I think, like $400 million in, like, player salary and taxes, I know Dan Gilbert's been willing to spend on players in the past, but this is unprecedented spending for them, basically. So yeah, $395.7 million is their projected team salary plus tax bill.
There we go.
They're good enough to do it for 1 year. I don't got, like, if I'm the Cavs, I just pay it. I think they're good enough, but I think that would be more likely than getting an extension. Your silence means that you want to move on rather than you try to segue yourself.
We are way behind.
Well, you don't respond to some of my points, which is just, it's disheartening sometimes, Mort.
I know. Look, that's because I agree with you. You make so great points. I'm just sitting there writing it. It's great.
With the head nod leaving me hanging while I'm trying to timestamp here. But the Detroit Pistons, we don't typically talk about rookie extensions during this exercise, but unless you think that they need to make another addition, do you want to see them get another, like, do they have a Sar Thompson and Tobias Harris? Do you want a better four? Do you want a better big than Stewart or Durant? I just don't. Do you want a veteran ball handler when you have Jaden Ivey and already got Karis LeVert? It just feels like they're done unless there's a star or player that becomes available that they deem is a really good fit. Thoughts on these extensions? Do you think that Noah Odich in the chat says Jaden Ivey, is he good? I mean, it's a question that he showed flashes last year, but that's part of the extension discussion. We know you like him. Do you think he gets an extension?
I don't, because he got injured. We never see, okay, so we've been talking about this before. So year 2, that was the whole Monty Williams year where he got jerked around in terms of role and minutes. And so we didn't really see an optimized version of him in his second year. Then he came into year 3. I think that we're beginning to see the real version of him. And then he went down, missed 52 games. So we only have a 30-game sample size where we could see sort of the vision of him alongside Cade and within the system. So I'm probably not inclined to extend him right now, but I will say this. If he and his agents are open to a sweetheart deal, sure, why not? A sweetheart deal from benefiting the Pistons, obviously. If he's down to signing some 4-year extension to, what do I know, an even 20 a year, which
wow,
that's
I don't even know.
Oh, I'm doing that immediately.
Yeah,
and even 20? Are you kidding me? 4 years, 80? Come on, you can't be that low on him.
It's not that I'm low on him, but so he's
and
coming
if it's
back
a flat
from
rate.
Here's my thing: he's coming back from a major injury.
Yeah,
the offense with him and Cade, while we agree that this is the best we've seen Jaden Ivey, could still get better, was still about league average with them on the floor, and they lost those minutes last season. I don't have enough information to just commit. And here's my thing: if he's getting $20 million a year, his cap hold next summer before he signs a new deal is 27. That's not enough of just a haircut for me to say no. If it's 3 years, it does going out 4 years on it. It's just we don't have enough information on him and this fit for this iteration of the Pistons. And also just how much does JB Bickerstaff value him when we know that he's not the greatest defender, and we see JB Bickerstaff kind of ding guys when they're not. I also think that the off-ball shooting improvement, it's important. Mm-hmm. What's the volume at which he could do it? Because Ron Holland and Asar Thompson are guys that you want to put need on-ball touches. I know Ron Holland had a really good – his jumper looked better in Summer League, but the game against the Knicks where he shot, 11 of 10 out of 3 on threes, was doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I just don't know that we have enough information on how he fits within this structure of the team. And it would probably have to be 4 for 60 or something. And I'm not saying, I think Jaden Ivey shouldn't sign that. I still think he could be a good player, but we also know how restricted free agency works now, Mort. Even if you think Jaden Ivey's who's coming in with the offer sheet? Maybe that'll be somebody, but
I would see, that's the thing, because I was looking at it as an outside team. Because if that was the thing where, he wanted 20, let's say 20, and the Detroit were nah. If I'm an outside team and I have money, I'm yes, sir. Because I don't look at Jaden Ivey through the, Cam Thomas lens. I love Cam Thomas, but I also realize that he has some significant weaknesses and some shortcomings. I don't necessarily attach those same weaknesses to Ivey. I think there's a player in there who is so much better, who plays under more control, who has better floor presence, also in terms of playmaking and floor spacing and off-the-catch shooting. There's so much more stuff to like. Now, I understand you're bringing up the numbers with Cade and how did that look? That's totally fair. It's not like I'm ruling that out as, that's totally relevant, but it's not something I'm baking everything around. I'm not saying you are either, don't worry. But it's something that just feels less with me. It's not something I put that much on, because this is a weird Pistons team, however you want to slice it. There's a center who's a non-spacing center first and foremost. We also know that Asar Thompson, not a floor spacer either. So the pendulum swings a lot depending on how they play. Do they establish themselves on the interior more often than not? It's a little bit of the Wild Wild West in Detroit in terms of how they play. And I would just like to have another gun in my holster for that type of play style. And I think Ivey is that. If they think they can get him for even cheaper, by all means, I think there's a player in there. And if I'm a team who if I'm young, I'm up and coming, and I'm smelling that the Pistons are not necessarily in on the Ivy experience, I'm pouncing. I'm absolutely pouncing. I'm high on this kid.
I don't think I'm low on him, and I think it's encouraging. He ended up shooting like 43% from three when Cade Cunningham was off the floor last year, but the offense was also dog shit in those minutes. And so I don't know what to think of him as a floor general yet. I think we might have a pretty good feel of what he could do as a scorer, both
Mhm.
on and off the ball. But I worry about, okay, if you are investing in him, you can't do because if you're investing in him and saying, well, he's just basically a two at that point, if you don't think he could like run your offense during the minutes that Cade is absent, like the 10 to 15 minutes a game that Cade does not play, that's what I'm still hung up on, probably more than anything. And I like to go out 4 years and 20 million per, I wouldn't be able to do that just yet. I still very much like him, and he's worth. And by the way, I think the Pistons offseason was fine. I think it was smart that they didn't do anything dramatic, especially after the Malik Beasley news, and that they're still set up to be really good in the East. Like this could easily be a top 4 team in the East. I think it's certainly probably a top 6 team. I'm sure I had them in the top 6 when we did tiers.
While you were talking, we have news, and it's due up Wreath news.
Is it?
The Blazers are fully guaranteeing his contract. There we go.
I mean, good for him, but someone go fucking trade for that guy now. My God. Hey, you just said the Pistons don't really have a floor spacing center. Let's get Duop Reith in here. Should the Pistons go add Duop Reith? Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Final thing to wrap up on the Pistons, and we've talked a lot about the Duren extension, big man extensions. Who do you think is more likely to get an extension between these two?
Duren, because of he's a big man who has been steadily improving defensively, elite rebounder, and more importantly, he's been on the floor. Like, he hasn't missed all that much time. I think the interplay between him and Cade has grown. I think you also need to have someone of his caliber, to catch lobs, to grab boards. Like, you need to give a guy like Cade Cunningham a legitimate big man to actually feed the ball to. Like, you can't not have that. So I think he's their priority, but I don't think it's like miles ahead. I think they want to take care of both at the same time.
That you would think that they want to get extensions hashed out rather than taking either one of them to RFA.
I wouldn't be surprised if they want to. Again, pending on them taking deals that are beneficial to the Pistons, because they've acted like that before. A lot of teams basically approach rookie extensions as if we're doing you a favor, so like take less. So it's through that perspective too. And like, look, if Jaden or Jalen or both say, hell no, let's go into restricted free agency, okay, by all means. But I would understand why agents would be like, let's not, because are you seeing what's going on right now? Like, are you seeing this? So we'll see what happens.
I wonder if they would be less likely to give Duren an extension if, let's say, both Mark Williams and Walker Kessler don't get one, because then they might look at it as Walker Kessler. Certainly, if a team is going to give an offer sheet to a big man in restricted free agency, I think it would be Walker Kessler before Jalen Duren at this point. So that could be part of this calculus too.
That is not an unfair suggestion. Yeah,
I think I'm going to say I agree with you. I think Duren would be more likely to get the extension. I actually would be pretty surprised if both of them get extensions, though. That's interesting that you think that would be a possibility. I think I'd value the flexibility of letting them both go to RFA, but maybe that's about to turn. We move on to the Indiana Pacers. Don't have Tyrese Halliburton next year. No longer have Miles Turner either. Are they going to do anything with like their non-taxpayer mid-level or their disabled player exception? I guess the DP, like you could save both for the middle of the season, but I like the Jay Huff deal, but like the center position doesn't have a ton of juice on it. Do you want like another maybe like veteran type ball handler like as a placeholder to help you maybe run the offense? I know Michael Pina made the case for the Pacers to be the Ben Simmons team. That's certainly interesting. So I'm not even saying use the entire MLE, but this doesn't feel like a team that should be done if they're trying to be competitive next season.
Right. So they're $6 million under the tax line.
Right. So they have room to do. It doesn't have to be the entire MLB. Right. They have room to do something.
They can do something. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm sort of sitting here thinking, what's the big point or what's the big idea? But like could they get a real difference maker in with that financial flexibility? Maybe not, but why not swing on something? I would hate for them to go old with that money. If anything, because of the situation they find themselves in, where expectations are low, no Tyrese, I would love for them to see if they can find someone who cheap on the market, someone who's flying under the radar, who they can get in and try to get minutes. And I don't really care about position. But the question is, who is out there? Like, because I'm just speaking hypothetically and generally, I don't have a name, but I do want that player to be young. Like, give yourselves a chance at some upside.
So, like, I'm trying to think because they should not be a team. We both agree that would trade a first round pick for somebody at this point. And it's like a Jalen
Shouldn't.
Pickett from Denver, maybe,
Oh,
or a
that'd be
Kobe
fun.
Buffkin from Atlanta. If
Yeah,
Atlanta's
I was
not
even
married to
thinking
the
the
Knicks.
free agency market or something, but like, yeah, you can go scour other teams' benches for sure. Yeah.
Who were you thinking on the free agency market then? That's like, is there even any
No, I was.
young?
That's what I'm saying. I wasn't thinking like I was. I was basically saying if there is a young guy out there, like I need to go in and actually look at who's out there. Like you can go trade for someone, or you can go sign someone if there's someone out there. Like again, remember every single organization have looked at virtually everyone who's gone through the draft before. Some like other players more than others, and if there was a guy out there who Pistons, wow, who the Pacers have had through the doors before, who they were like, yeah, you know what, we have a good eye to him. Why not? Like if someone gets waived within the next couple of weeks or something, like who they were like, oh, we actually like this dude, bring him in. I think they just, what's the upside in going for a Ben Simmons? Really, what is the upside of going for
I
someone
would
who,
argue if you're using the minimum to, I'm not saying they should go give Ben Simmons more than anybody else is offering,
right?
but for how they like to play in the open floor, Ben Simmons could still probably help them there. Could probably help them defensively. And if
It's a
you're going to
1 year
play,
stopgap for him and for
yeah.
them.
And if it
What's the
doesn't work
long
out,
term
you could get
upside?
rid of him when this opportunity that you're talking about presents
Opens up.
itself.
Okay, I
Or even
can
like
go along with that.
I don't know if he does enough of what they would want with the situation. And he's always injured, but Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, if he would take the minimum or a little bit more to come play for the Pacers, is just he doesn't have to be on the ball, so that's a bonus. Ben Simmons
Right.
kind of has to be.
Yeah, I you can hear I'm not exactly enthused. And again, it's because it's the same thing with the Celtics, right? Like when you're going through that 1 year where you just kind of know, yeah, we're not going to make noise this year. Then I automatically just switch into, oh, okay, let's see what we can do upside wise. Like what youth. I immediately transition into youth.
Well, I think it's fine to think that way, but then I feel like you should still do something. Like because to kind of wait is so because if you're not we had this conversation with the Celtics. If you're not going to be committed, like the Pacers definitely seem even less likely from the onset of the season to say, "Hey, we're gonna tank." Maybe they get to that point because they're not as good as expected, but they seem like just because that's how they've done things historically, and also Nemhard and Pascal Siakam, Benedict Mathurin, and like all these good players, Aaron Nesmith, are still on the team. They're trying to be. They understand they probably won't win a title, but I think that they're still trying to be a top 6 team in the East. And I'd
Mhm.
probably like to see them go get more. I mean, I love Jay Huff, and like I guess you technically have some big man depth if you're willing to scale up. Siakam, Jarris Walker getting more minutes would be a great thing. And you don't. I want to be clear. You don't want to do anything that's going to make you play Benedict Mathurin or Jarris Walker less. So I want to make that clear. But I think that if you're trying to be good, I think there's value in whether it's an upside swing play or signing a veteran who's not going to cost you much. I would like to see like maybe someone who could uh, like just generate offense for others on aside from TJ McConnell and having to place that responsibility on an Andrew Nemhard.
Caleb Houston was waived, right?
No, he was not.
I'm pretty sure he's a free agent.
Caleb Houston is a free agent.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
he
I
is.
mean Noah Penda is on their payroll, so yeah, that would make sense then. Caleb Houston was waived.
Now, see, that's the type of name I'm looking for if I'm the Pacers. That's the type of swing that I'd take. 22-year-old, 6'8" wing, shoots it. There's a two-way potential there. Like, That's how I'm thinking. I get what your thinking is, though. Like, I'm not saying that there isn't merit to it, but like, let's assume that they bring in Ben. All right, he does fairly well. Whatever. He's 29, 30-ish. Then he leaves again next year. Big whoop. What have you accomplished? I want someone who you can bring along when Tyrese comes back, too. Where you can say, oh, now we have this guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would support that. I think I support them making like then more addition. I don't know. I'd probably rather it be like at the point guard spot or the center spot. Like go get Dominic
that's
Barlow
fair.
right now, and you have a fan in me forever. So, and
Oh,
by the way,
he's
they could
available? Yeah. Okay.
Dominic Barlow's still out there. I guess the other thing that
Nice. All right.
I at least haven't considered throughout having this discussion is they even have like how many bodies on the roster they already have. They have their 15, like with Cam Jones, Johnny Furphy, James Huff. That's the issue you run into is are you going to get rid of a Tony Bradley? So that's the other thing that we would need to mention here. So it would almost have to be whatever they're going to do would have to be sort of a trade or they're going to dump somebody or waive
Right.
somebody. Which of the names that we mentioned, is anybody more sort of intriguing than anyone else on their roster? That is a problem that you run. I mean, like, I'm not a big Tony Bradley guy, so maybe he would be the
Yeah.
one where if you want a Caleb Houston, if you want to go get a young guard, if you want to take a look at Dominic Barlow, I wouldn't have a problem getting rid of him.
Agreed.
Our next team up will be the Miami Heat. The Tyler Hero extension discussion, Mort. 3 years, $149.7 million they could give him. Would you extend him? Do you think that he's worth all of that? Which is not the actual max, but is the max that he could receive. How do you think it ends? What are your thoughts here?
Give me the number again, please.
3 years and $149.7 million is the maximum. Doesn't have to be the number that they sign him for, but that is the max.
So roughly $50 million a year.
Yes.
No.
I get that.
Yeah. I like Tyler Hero, but that like we're just going right back to the discussion we had about like the Fox, thing where is this dude? Like where is he at? Is he a superstar? Is he an all-star who's not a superstar? Is he a fringe all-star? Like what level is he in?
Well,
Tyler Hero is certainly not in that top tier thing, and I would argue roughly $50 million a year. That's juicy, potentially a little bit juicy.
So it ends up being like that deal would be worth the 3 years about 28%, 28.5% of the salary cap, which actually isn't so egregious. It's interesting that you just approached it from the pure finances standpoint. I looked at it as saying everything they've done is telegraphed that they either want to maybe have cap space next year or have a shit ton of flexibility in 2027, which is when a Tyler Hero extension would kick in. And so I just don't think they're going to give him one. Like if they make a trade, that's the other thing here too, is that by the time he's extension eligible, he's not going to be able to be traded in season. And are they going to want to keep all their options open if Giannis Antetokounmpo becomes available or someone else? But the main thing for me would be like, what's the number as the Heat that if you're planning on trying to remain malleable, flexible in the summer of 2027, that Tyler Hero has to be willing to accept for you to eat into that by putting him on the books, because right now he would be a free agent. That's part of the appeal is he comes off the books that year. If Andrew Wiggins picks up his player option, he comes off the books as well. Davion Mitchell's deal comes off the books by then. So I'm curious as to what number they would, especially because they can say, well, he's under contract for 2 more years. We can revisit this next summer if we would like. I'm wondering what the number would need to be for them to say, no, like, let's do this extension right now. No, not right now when he's eligible. You know what I mean, in October.
Under the current, I guess, or roughly the same. I don't think it's substantially more than what he's earning right now.
Oh, interesting. What is he at right now? He's at 30 million?
31 and then 33 next year.
You could probably talk me into to pounce on it. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
Like 35.
Well, that was the scenario you set up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's like 3 years at 35 million a pop, I'm probably jumping on it. That's a deal that you could, if you want cap space, I think you could just trade it.
Yeah. Like if you're going above 40 or 45 or close to 50, that it's not worth it. You pounce if it's something that is so dramatically beneficial to you.
Yes, and I think they've done a good job balancing because he's not a point guard, nor is Norman
Right.
Powell, but Hero's improved a lot as a playmaker. I almost like the idea where, like a Davion Mitchell, we know is not a point guard, because you have Pell Larson and because you have um, Yakachonis, like put the ball, give them reps, put the ball in their hands because Norman Powell and Tyler Hero can play so well off of it. So you're a Heat team that isn't rebuilding or resetting next year. You're still trying to be good, but you've left clear runway to develop like those two players specifically. I'm looking
Right.
at. I'm curious to see though whether the Heat indulge that or if we're going to see a lot of okay, like we're going to try and make Terry Rozier happen again, or Hero's going to have the ball a ton, Norman Powell's going to have the ball a ton, and then look, there's room for them to have the ball a ton and develop those guys. But I do think that's why Tyler Hero is so important to them. I just don't know that he is like hashtag we need to get this extension done.
No, yeah,
before.
no, absolutely not.
Our next team is the Milwaukee Bucks. Mort, do they need another wing? Or does Kyle Kuzma and Taurean Prince really do it for you?
Do they, do they need more talent? Do they need, like, here's the list. Yeah, sure. They need another wing. They need another guard. They need another everything. This is a team that is so unbaked that yes. To answer your question, instead of going long term here, they need another wing. Absolutely, they need another wing. Who do you have in mind?
I don't have targets for them to go after. I mean, when you look at
Okay.
that's the thing that's a problem with them. If you look at the free agency list,
Yeah,
it's going to be pretty slim pickings here, and then
right.
trading gets fairly complicated. So, like, of the free agents that are left, like, do they need a reunion with? Like, they're kind of entered. Oh, what's Javante Green, Torrey Craig, Jay Crowder
Right.
doing? Caleb Houston be interesting for them, for sure.
Go.
That'd be
Yeah.
another good name there. I wouldn't mind them taking a flyer on Kessler Edwards either. I've always been a little bit intrigued by him. They do have 15 guaranteed contracts on the roster, but I'm not like a Tyler Smith guy. So if you just kind of need to get rid of him, that's not something that I would be broken up about. They have $16 million under the tax as well, so there are some things they could game if they wanted to go to the
Mhm.
trade market. Like if, for instance, I don't know what the outgoing money would need to be to help that, and that's the other problem with this. Is so like Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, Gary Trent Jr., they're so cheap after their and so all of this is something I haven't really realized until we did this. More than half of their roster just signed a deal, so they can't even be traded.
Right.
So Giannis, Kuzma, like you could trade those guys. And that's basically it. AJ Green, you could trade him. I think he's probably more likely to get extended than traded. So that would be another issue that they're up against. But I look at them, I don't know that they need another guard. They have a ton. And if Giannis is going to run enough of the offense, you have Cole Anthony, you have Ryan Rollins. KPJ. I'm more okay with that. I look at the wing and then bigs with Bobby Portis, Turner, and Giannis. I think you're fine. Jericho Sims is a great number for them. I just look at it as okay, Gary Trent Jr., Gary Harris, Torian Prince, AJ Green, not really a wing. I would like to just see like that, like if they could get like a veteran in there or a cheap guy, or there is a trade to be made.
Someone who can dribble. That'd be
Kyle
nice.
Kuzma thinks he can dribble. What's wrong with Kyle Kuzma?
Oh, do you
Man,
have
the
2
pendulum
hours?
has really swung. I went from like being a Kyle Kuzma defender to just like the last season and a half, 2 seasons. It's been like tough sledding here.
I look, the way that he played this past season, that was egregious basketball. It was some of the most selfish basketball I'd ever seen. Just yeah.
But it was a little different in Milwaukee, and I have to imagine he would shoot the like because you can't really play worse than he did.
You
last
think it was
year. I'd have to
different in
imagine.
Milwaukee? I hated his shot selection also in Milwaukee. I actually expected him to come in and go, oh, okay, now I'm on a team that at least has a chance. Now I'm really going to apply myself. I'm going to be smarter with my shot selection. I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to do all the small stuff. Fat chance. This dude, he coasted, and it was bad shot selection, and the decision making was all over the floor. I'm so out on the Kyle Kuzma experience in Milwaukee. I'm so out of it. And like, I love that we're just bringing up the Bucks. Like, do they need another wing? We're putting lipstick on a pig here. They don't like you said that. Oh, if Giannis is going to be the guy who's going to handle the ball a lot, sure. If we want him to break down by game 50, sure. I think this roster is just so bad. I don't trust that Doc Rivers is going to play anyone under the age of 28 anyway. Like, so even if Caleb Houston would have been a nice addition, fat chance getting Doc to play him because Doc is an old fart who doesn't know what to like build long term on his roster or rotations. I'm so out on this team this year. There's no upside here whatsoever for me. I absolutely loathe this roster.
That's interesting. I think you're way too low on them. I don't even.
That's fair.
The Kuzma stuff, he took way fewer shots on a permanent basis in Milwaukee. So I think that's
they
like
were still
pretty...
bad. You could take fewer shots than them still being bad.
I think. I guess what's tough here is that so now Damian Lillard's gone, and if there's not a clear who's the second best player on this roster, that might embolden him to be more Washington Kuzma than trying to fit in on a good team. But I think when there's a clear best player and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo and he's going to have the ball a lot, I'm not worried about him being as bad or worse. And you seem to be leaving.
I mean, I hope you're right. They would need you to be right. Is kind of my point here. The Bucks are hoping that what you just said is what turns out to be true. I hope that as well. I just don't have much faith in it. And also, I'm not exactly loving the idea of, oh, well, it's not Kyle Kuzma. Let's pivot to Kevin Porter Jr. That's not exactly a recipe for success to me. And I still think this team needs more of a floor leader. And I say that as a Ryan Rollins fan, by the way. Mm-hmm. I do like that dude. I mean, still think they're short at guard.
What's interesting is I would agree with you when it comes to the floor general aspect, but then when you look at like what they could do and who's tradable, like they can only make a massive move because it's like Kyle Kuzma's the most, but then that would make sense. You have to attach a first round pick to Kyle Kuzma, and I think part of their Giannis pitch right now was we'll have 3 tradable first round picks next summer, so they won't do that. And so they'd be very much kind of like shopping on the margins, whether it's the trade market. I was trying to figure out a way to get them Sam Hauser, but they just run into Boston isn't going to take Kyle Kuzma. That's more money. And the trade gets so complicated.
Well, it helps them tank. It helps Darren Peterson train. Here we are.
So what'd you do? I mean, I think they could get close. That would bring them like they just run into so many contract issues, like an Anthony Simons and Sam Hauser for Kyle. If you really want to tank Kyle Kuzma deal, but I think Boston would want a first as part of that equation, and the Bucks need to include more money in there, and it gets tough to get to that point. So I think they need to. Good call out on the floor general thing. I think the wing, it's easier for them to take you have enough flyers at the guard spot, whether it's Ryan Rollins or KP, like ball handlers or Cole Anthony, to where I probably want to see. It doesn't feel like there's enough upside on the wings for me. Where like Ryan Rollins could pop. You could talk me into that as a guard spot.
He could pop. I don't disagree with that. I like him. He's a good guy.
So on the wings, who are you saying that about? Like AJ Green, maybe? Like he's been a better defender than people expect. So I hope he plays a bunch. But do we trust Doc to?
Oh, I don't think there's any wing here that could like pop. I like Gary Trent Jr. Like I think he could have a better year than what he had last year, which wasn't bad. But I think there's more to him. But that's kind of it. Again, I'm very low on the roster construction of these Bucks. I really am.
Let's go on to your New York Knicks. We don't have to talk about the Mikal Bridges extension anymore because he got one. Did you have a problem with that, by the way? I saw a lot of people thought it was bad, and he's slated to be like the 55th highest paid player when it kicks in. I don't think that's yeah. Were you surprised at how many people did?
I've seen it over the course of today that a lot of people were like, "Oh, look at how expensive the Knicks are now," and I've been just shaking my head all day long. It makes no sense.
I saw it, a screenshot of a tweet on Blue Sky that was actually really funny. Someone tweeted the Knicks, Jalen Brunson took a pay cut so the Knicks could build a team around him, and they turned around and gave that money to 3 other guys. And I was just like using it as, isn't that the point then? Like that's why Jalen Brunson took a pay cut?
Do you understand NBA roster construction much? No, that's funny.
But yeah, we're not here to talk about that. I think it was fine. He does need to be better, but
yes, he does.
Yeah, like if it's not, I don't know. And he could still be traded this season if they need him to. I was surprised, I guess, at how many people thought it was just bad. You could argue about the trade kicker, the player option, sure, but I bet you if he hit the open market next summer, that I don't know if a team would have given him the max of 4 years and 213, an outside team. I bet you he would have gotten like a 4-year, $200 million offer from somebody. I bet.
Like, I will say this. The last guaranteed year, because he has a player option 2030. Like, yeah, if he picks up the player option in the last 2 years, those they have a chance of being a little, not bad, but like where you're thinking, okay, that's probably a little too rich for where he might be at that point in time. But like you can say that about what, 70, 80 contracts currently in the NBA. So like I'm not just gonna sit there and go, oh, Mikal Bridges got a horrible deal. It's gonna age poorly. Like, no, yeah. Do I love the last 2 years? No, I not necessarily. Do I have a problem with it? No. It's that is how business gets done.
So Mitchell Robinson extension, he's basically could get
Right.
like somewhere as a max, like somewhere between 80 and 90. Is there a number that you would be comfortable extending him at, especially now that you know? I think part of the value of the Mikal Bridges extension is, we have a number for him in 2026. So as of right now, I think depending on where the cap lands, they could be like 12 million bucks below the second apron. That's not including a Mitchell Robinson deal. And I think it's okay to go in the second apron. You just can't live there. But is there a number that would make you be like, okay, yeah, let's extend Mitchell? Would it have to be for the exact same amount he's making this season, which is about 13 million? Would you go a little higher? Are you looking at the health question marks and just saying, oh, no way?
15 million straight flat rate over 3 years. So 3 years, 45. I think that feels reasonable.
I mean, if he's willing to take that, I would.
If he's not, fair enough. Like, that's his prerogative. But, like, given how much he's been injured, I think that's a fair offer.
I feel like it's. Would you say 3 for 45, right?
345.
Yeah, that's a number I'm comfortable giving. I'm just wondering, do you think he would accept that?
I don't know. But, like, if we're being honest here, 59 games in 22-23, 31 games in 23-24, 17 games this last season. I mean, you have an argument on your side here in terms of offering that deal and saying, look, guy, you played 48 total regular season games over the past 2 years. Like, let's meet halfway, bud. Come on. 15 million, that still gets you food on the table a year, every single year. That's not that. It's even a race, for crying out loud.
I do think they probably have a better chance of him maybe accepting a lower number if all the other bigs we've already talked about, like a Duren, a Mark Williams, a Walker Kessler, end up not getting extensions, because then it's teams that have the money to go after Mitchell Robinson. I guess some of those guys would be more expensive, whereas Mitchell Robinson you view as a mid-level type guy. But if you're gonna get mid-level money, you just offered it at 3 for 45. So
right. But do you really think there are teams out there who are going to be looking at that same injury pattern and go, oh, yeah, 480, 490 for Mitch?
I mean, of the teams that have cap space, probably not. I mean, like some of the teams that have cap space already have it, which I wouldn't put it past the Bulls. Could see them doing something like that.
Oh, you know what? That's smart for Mitch and his agent. That should be a plan for so many teams. Just, all right, the Bulls exist. Let's put that in our back pocket. And then let's go to negotiate with our team. That's smart.
Noah Odich with a good point on Mort's, basically your deal, Mort. Like, you get it done at an average annual value of $15 million. It's tradable. It's also then immediately, not immediately, but like it would be immediately, because it's less than 120% raise, I think. So that would probably be an ideal outcome for the Knicks. But I also wonder, my takeaway is that I don't think Robinson and Josh Hart are going to be on the team past this season. So I'm curious if the Knicks would value having the flexibility of Mitchell Robinson being, one, good if he's healthy, but also an expiring contract and trade talks this season. And so are they just not in a rush to get, like, even if he would accept 3 for 45, or do the Knicks sit there and say, well, what if we have like a Robert Williams situation in our hands, or just a borderline, like, transcendent defender, but he's just not playing enough games for teams to view that deal, which is digestible, as a value deal?
I mean, if you went 345 and you somehow negotiated a team option into the third year, that makes the entire contract so much easier to pivot off from. But at the same time, I think, to your point, moving him as an expiring contract, just that is 13, roughly 13
about 13
million.
A little under.
Yeah, to just get right off the cap next year, especially in a year where the cap is expected to increase by a smaller amount than expected. Yeah, I don't hate that approach at all.
I had wondered if you were the Boston Celtics and able to get off other money in the process, so you need a third team, if you were able to do something like Mitchell Robinson goes to Boston, and then Boston is getting off of George Niang and Sam Hauser, is that something Boston considers?
Yeah,
You would have to compensate a team to take on Niang somehow.
That is a great way to sneak tank because then Mitch plays like 22 games. Yeah, right. And they absolutely, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, if he's healthy and if you want to be competitive, absolutely. That's a smart way. If
he's just different from the bigs they kind of normally target, though, right? But that might be a terrible
beggars
idea
can't be
right now.
choosers, and at this point, when it comes to centers and big men, the Celtics are absolutely beggars. If Mitch gives you 65, 70 games in a year, you're getting incredible value for the money as well, even if it's an expiring, and you may not even be able to retain him afterwards. That's like for the Celtics, that's a win, an easy win.
You just made me think that this is an extension that I think if it gets done, contrary to like Bridges or Tyler Hero or even a De'Aaron Fox, I know those are higher level players, but if it gets done, it feels like it's way more likely to end up being team friendlier than not.
Yeah.
Where some of those other ones could have downside. This one, it's you don't offer it or like give him an offer that is anything less than this is guaranteed to be team friendly.
Absolutely.
Just a final quick question here. Their last veterans minimum, they've been tied to just a bunch of players. Is there either an archetype or a player that you like, or are you on board the Ben Simmons experiment? I would be not on board with it because I think it essentially means that Josh Hart is always going to be playing with a non-shooter on the court, whether it's Robinson or Simmons.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
The number, I was actually writing about this the other day. Josh Hart, like 45% of his shots came at the rim when he played without Mitchell Robinson last year. That dropped to 26.5% or around there when Mitchell Robinson was like on the floor. So if you're just saying he's playing with another like detrimental non-shooter, like most of his minutes, you negate a lot of what Josh Hart does the best.
Right.
So I would rather see them get, they only have the minimum, the vets minimum. I would rather see them get a Malcolm Brogdon, an Amir Coffey, a Chris Boucher, of course. Is Cody Martin healthy? I would even be more okay. And I actually think Simmons still has some upside as a player. I'd be more okay of them just saying, you know what? We're going to sign Kevin McCullough Jr., Diawara, because they can't afford to sign. If they sign a veteran, they have to give it to sign someone who has 0 years of experience. So if you want McCullough Jr. as like a guaranteed player, I'd rather see them do that because one, it signals, oh, they might play some young players. But two, I think Ben Simmons, again, can do some things for them defensively, push the pace. But unless you're planning on trading Josh Hart, I don't like the idea of Ben Simmons on this team.
That's fair. I had actually not considered the Josh Hart, Ben Simmons problem, which it would be. That's a fair shout. Otherwise, I'd actually been in on that.
I mean, it's the minimum, so you can always say how many minutes is Ben Simmons going to play. You can get rid of him later. So I'm not saying Ben Simmons is coming in and they're deciding he's better than Josh Hart. It's just, well, if you're paying him with the intention to play a veteran 10 to 15 minutes a game, you pencil in Robinson's minutes, like you're not going to be able to stagger Josh Hart from both of those guys for most of his minutes.
Is this a Caleb Houston destination?
If the Knicks thought in those terms, I would love it. But they had an executive even say to Keith Smith of Spotrac, like, it's going to be hard for the young guys to crack our rotation. And so if they feel that way about Pacome Dadier, Tyler Kolek, are they going to feel much differently about Caleb? I think their biggest need to me, it might be a ball handler they could trust, but I think it's just
then I have a guy, Monte Morris.
I'd rather see Brogdon. I'd rather take the swing on Brogdon. If they're going to go guard, definitely not Russell Westbrook. You run into a lot of the same Ben Simmons stuff that we just talked about. But I love the Amir Coffey. I just don't know if he's going to go for the minimum. So I love Caleb Houston. I would Caleb Houston, Cody Martin. Honestly, Cody Martin, if he was healthy, which he has not been, he blends the line of, that guy can do like a little things with the ball in his hand for other players, but he's also like he will defend some wings. That might make the most sense, but I really think they probably need a wing more than just because you can have Hart and let's just give Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby more on-ball touches, but I think you could also make the case they do need another backup ball handler here. Just they have Jordan Clarkson. I didn't mention his name. He's just not much of a three-point shooter, and he could be a defensive detriment. So if he's playing a bunch of minutes with Yabusele, I don't know what that looks like. I would advocate for their final veterans minimum slot if they use it to go to a wing, though.
Fair.
The Orlando Magic, Mort, they don't really have a lot to talk about other than, do you think they're, so let's start here. They're within $7 million of ducking the tax. We agree that they're going to duck the tax at some point this year, right?
Yes, that would seem very, very likely.
Do you think they're going to do it before the offseason is over? Or is this something that'll just get done in the middle of the season or even after the regular season ends?
Trade deadline seems like a reasonable point in time because then you have an idea of where you are as a basketball team. Like if the Magic comes out and are just gangbusters, perhaps the need to get under the tax isn't quite so egregious. They might even act as buyers to some extent at the trade deadline to the extent that they can because they won't have a lot of flexibility. But no, if they're just like humming along that nicely, yeah, I mean, you're looking at it. I mean, Jet Howard, if he's not playing once again, which, God damn it, Orlando, if that's the case, I'm going to be so upset. Then yeah, because he gets you closer to getting under. That could be a guy coming out. We'll see.
Yeah, he gets some. So they're 5.6 million under the tax. He makes 5.5 million. They would need to replace that roster spot though. So I honestly, the name, and if you're watching on YouTube, was pictured here. It's just, I think there'd be a team that would just take all of Goga Batadze's money. And if you think Mo Wagner's healthy and you paid Wendell Carter, paid in quotes, like he's not even on that extension yet. He's so cheap still, 10.9 million. And maybe if you want, you have Jonathan Isaac, Paolo Banchero could play some 5 if you wanted him to. That's the name that I have circled, even though he's valuable. I think someone would just take him into a trade exception or their non-taxpayer mid-level, and then you duck the tax by doing that. You sign someone to a minimum and you're done. But
are we sure he's not going to be your starting center?
So what? Are you saying Wendell Carter Jr. is not healthy?
I'm saying Wendell Carter Jr. has not exactly been great as of late, including the year before last as well.
I think at least I'll say this, the idea of Wendell Carter Jr. is way more important to actualizing the message that you tried to send this summer, which is that spacing matters.
Right.
And so if you're going to turn around and you're going to start Goga Batadze and then you're just shrinking the floor at another position while inserting Desmond Bane, and again, I say this, what your rebuke could be, Wendell Carter Jr. took 2.3 3-point attempts per game last year.
No, but that was an outlier. I'm very aware that he was hurt. He didn't that is the optimized version of him was the version of him 3 and 4 years ago, right? And that's what they're hoping they're going to get back.
So I think Goga Batadze is a great reserve big. If Orlando is starting him and Wendell Carter Jr. is healthy, there are 2 things I take away from that. What the hell is going on with Wendell Carter Jr., but also do the Magic get it yet? Because I've taken this offseason as a sign that, okay, they understand what they need and they're a little late on doing it, but they did it in caps lock fashion at least with Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane. So you can absolutely not start. I'm sorry. If Wendell Carter Jr. is healthy, there's no way that I would rather start Paolo Banchero at the 5 than put Goga Batadze or Mo Wagner even, who's not going to be as much of a 3-point shooter either.
I mean, yeah. Look, an optimized version of, or optimized, that's the wrong word, a healthy Wendell Carter Jr., if we're seeing the play that we've seen from him before, yeah, I'm taking that and I'm pivoting off Goga pretty easily. But are you not concerned about I don't want to say lack of availability, but when is the last time he's actually never cracked 70 games? Wow. Last season, which we felt was like an injury-riddled season, that was actually the most games he's ever played.
Oh, no, I didn't think last year didn't seem like injury-riddled to me. He definitely had a down year relative to what he was doing. But you do raise a good point. And by the way, on Mo Wagner, I'm aware he took more 3-pointers last year per game than before. He just barely played before he got it, or didn't play as much because he was injured. So let's say you get rid of Goga Batadze. You're left with Wendell Carter Jr., Isaac, and Mo Wagner as your centers. Wagner hasn't been injury prone, but he's coming off a major injury. Yeah. And then Wendell Carter Jr. and Jonathan Isaac are not what you would call durable. So that would be the thing you'd run into. I think I would just bet on, okay, those 3, we will figure out a full center rotation on any given night without Goga. And I think I'm not advocating that teams shouldn't pay the tax. I just think when you've committed so much money to Bane, Paolo when his extension kicks in, Franz, Jalen Suggs, the longer you can delay the repeater clock from
Yeah.
starting, the better. And so that's why
Yeah.
I'd bet on them ducking the tax.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there a second player? It's just Jet Howard instead of Goga Batadze. The fact that that would be a discussion is like pretty damning. I would if you told me getting rid of Jet Howard ducks the tax and you can keep Goga, sure, but it doesn't. And so like that's where, and then so we're gonna have to get rid of another player to just duck the tax.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I also want to keep Jet around. I hate.
By the way, he should have.
Yeah.
I just can't believe. I know how they feel about defense. I just can't believe he hasn't gotten more of an extended look with the big club over the past couple seasons.
Right. Yeah, it's honestly annoying. I'm at that point where I just want to save him. I want someone to save him, and just give him consistent minutes for like 3 months. Just 25 minutes right off the bat somewhere. Let's just see what you have.
Do you know what would be a really good team for him? I think Detroit.
Oh, I like that. Yep.
I think they would play him. I mean, he's not gonna like they just drafted Chaz Lanier in the second round, and JB Bickerstaff doesn't like to play youngsters who don't play defense. Yada yada yada. They could insulate him defensively, and I know they got Duncan Robinson, but you lost both Malik Beasley and Simone Fontecchio. And so that could be someone who comes in and maybe you trust him to do that.
Atlanta would be fun too. They also feel like they could use just one more wing.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. Do you think they have the defense of insulation to play both him and Trey at the same time?
If Dyson Daniels is on the floor with them, yes.
Fair. Yeah, Jet Howard I'm still intrigued by. More so, who are you more intrigued by? Jet Howard or Jordan Hawkins?
Jet Howard, easily.
So am I. Do you think, are we falling victim to he's more of a mystery box because we've seen more of Jordan Hawkins?
Absolutely we are.
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
No, I'm not even hiding that. That is absolutely the case. Yes.
Surprise, surprise, the Sixers, Mort. What will Quentin Grimes get? This is the final restricted free agent.
He will get money.
No, I think he'll get Bitcoin. Fuck you. Take that.
That's true. Oh, he's Spencer Dinwiddie now.
Spencer Dinwiddie, Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, take your pick. How do you think it ends with him? We've gone through Giddey. We've gone through Cam Thomas. He seems like he's by far of these three, he's the most intriguing to me, just as a player.
Yep, same. And it feels like everyone is talking about like, oh, we would like him bad, like $17 million a year, which I think would be a fantastic contract. I understand why he wants a lot. Like he came onto the Sixers and he showed, like I wrote about this recently over at Forbes, like he showed everyone that he had way more on-ball chops than everyone kind of thought. Like every NBA player is actually better than you think he is. Like every bit player, because like everyone is kind of thinking, oh, Duncan Robinson, the only thing he can shoot. Like, no, if you get him into like a pickup game at the local Y, he triple double your ass like in a minute. Every single one of these guys are extremely good all around players. But I don't think we understood the extent of how good Quentin Grimes was on the ball and in terms of creating his own 3-point looks and just creating offense for himself. I love his game. And if the Sixers somehow get him back to a deal that averages somewhere between like 17 and 20 million a year, good Lord, that's good business. I don't know what he'll get. I just don't have a good read on that situation.
I think he's going to end up getting a little bit more than the mid-level. So like 17 sounds about right. And what's interesting, I guess the context of the team gets iffy, but just because of what we know about the durability of Paul George and Joel Embiid, I actually think I want to make this clear. I think Jonathan Kuminga is the most likely restricted free agent to take his qualifying offer.
Same.
I actually think Quentin Grimes is the one who has the strongest case to do it, because I think more teams would be interested in him next summer based off what he could do defensively and just as a plug-and-play like guard, fringe, wing type. And what you could push back and say, well, just like Jonathan Kuminga might see his role be inconsistent with Golden State, look at all this depth that Philly kind of has and all these on-ball players. Someone's getting injured in Philly, or just going to miss time. Joel Embiid's not going to play back-to-backs, and Tyrese Maxey can't create everything. And because of what he could do defensively, you're going to have him above Jared McCain in the pecking order, I would think. So there is some risk there, but I actually think he's the one that has the highest upside and also the lowest risk if he signs his qualifying offer.
I think that's a very good point. So what we took away from this is that Quentin Grimes should take the qualifying offer?
If they're giving him, let's say, 4 years and $68 million, I think he should probably just take it because it's when you're not. It's just the whole situation with free agents is so weird. Being an unrestricted free agent certainly helps, but do you think if it's 4 and 68 and they won't go any higher, would you take it as him or would you roll the dice on the qualifying offer?
I'm rolling the dice if I'm Quentin Grimes. Yeah.
I think that's honestly. I think that's the smart answer. I gave you the safe answer. I think your answer was the smart answer because my bet would be that he gets more than for 68 next year on the open market. That would be my guess. What do you think? I think he ends up signing a deal at least 3 years for $17 million on average. I would be surprised if he gets more than 19 or 20 million on average, though.
I think they're going to split the difference a little bit. It's going to be a 2-year balloon deal, 2 years 40.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. And it seems like that would be a deal that was built to trade.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've talked, Kuminga is involved in like all these trade discussions. Could you see like any team coming in with their traded player except like, should Utah have interest in Quentin Grimes and try and build a package with Philly that way?
Utah of all teams, okay.
Well, they have like that massive like trade. I mean, I think Atlanta, don't they still have?
Yeah, see, Atlanta would be. See, the thing about Grimes is also he's not necessarily a young player. He's 25, so he's approaching like the win now time of his career. You have to like balance that out with the team like interested in him. So who is that team who's like, yeah, we can use him? Oh, I have a fun one. Although, well, they have Austin Reeves, so the Lakers can. I would just like to see him next to Luka again, but in this different framework where he isn't just the spot-up shooter that he was in Dallas, where Luka is like, oh, you got more in the tank. Like, you have more than just being the spot-up shooter. I don't hate that, but, like, Austin Reeves is there, so that's not a good one.
I would love him in Atlanta if they had the salary to structure to make it work. They don't. They're close to the tax, and they just don't have big salaries to trade other than Kristaps or Trae Young. I kind of like Utah. I know they have Keontae George and Isaiah Collier, but like Ace Bailey's going to do a lot of the on-ball work, so Quentin Grimes can kind of blend what he does best there. And they have 2 traded player exceptions of $25 million or more.
Is there any freaking way we can get Grimes to the Thunder?
No, he's going to – no. I mean, I don't know. Let me correct myself. Yes, there are ways, but at that point, it's just like, how much are you paying? Like, to pay his price point for the minutes that he would end up playing for them, though?
I don't care. That'd be dominant as hell. I'd love that.
They're already dominant as hell.
Yeah, I want more. It's also because I think they still need shooting. We've talked about this, how I didn't think they should go into this season and be somewhat complacent. Like, I still think their offense needed some adjusting. Quentin Grimes would solve a lot of that.
Quentin Grimes would be fun in Denver.
That's good. Okay. How? What's
the
pathway?
I mean, you're giving up. They don't have a first-round pick to trade in like Philly's salary structure. They're not going to want like Zeke, like Jonas Valanciunas and Zeke Naji for Quentin Grimes when there's no first-round pick attached. Yeah. What about?
We'll see.
Yeah, Minnesota doesn't really have anything to work out. Would you? Yeah, I mean, he has so few levers. So yeah, he'll be back in Philly. It feels more likely that.
Let's revisit this come trade deadline. Honestly,
you know what sucks too is that 2 of the teams that already gave up on him, Detroit and Dallas, are just like those are teams that he would make some sense on too.
The Detroit situation there with him never made sense. Like, how could you not at least see there was a player in there?
He had some knee stuff, but he had this in New York too. He was kind of grumbly behind the scenes about his lack of on-ball touches. So I would assume I assume that might have played a role into it. But also maybe they really wanted Tim Hardaway Jr., Michigan alum. That's not.
Yeah.
So we move on to the Toronto Raptors. They're a team that fascinates me in both good and bad ways. I don't know what their offseason, unless you think that there's a chance RJ Barrett's going to get an extension. I don't really, and Ochai Agbaji, I think he should get an extension, but I didn't want to pick another rookie scale guy. Does this team need to reorient itself before seeing what they have on the floor, or are you kind of, no, like, let's wait and see what's going on here before they make any further decisions?
I mean, I've made my opinion on this very, very clear. I actually liked them coming into last year. Then they got super injured, and then they weirdly traded for Brandon Ingram. Like, they did have to do something with that Bruce Brown contract, so I'm not against them doing something, but Ingram specifically was a weird choice. Then they gave Ingram a raise on an extension without having, while he was going to be an unrestricted free agent, but like they didn't know anything about like the fit here. So they're loaded with wings. Presumably something's got to go.
They're over the tax too, which is just weird.
They're over
They'll
the
duck
tax.
it. They're like 2.8
right?
million over. That's without filling out. No, they have four. What do they have? How many players are on their roster? Oh no, they have 15 spots, so that's fine. They'll duck it. That's not a problem.
Right. And Colin Murray Boyles, a player I just adore, got drafted into possibly the worst situation for him precisely because they have the three wings that have to play out of position. And like, you're going to have to play Scotty Barnes a ton at the 4. I just don't know what this roster is. I think it seems unfinished. It seems like it's like in a stage of something and we're just kind of waiting for something to happen. So everything is kind of more aligned.
Which, by the way, you get rid of Masai Ujiri, and
the day after the draft,
right. And so the optics of that are bad. There was obviously things brewing behind the scenes further. But what was the fact that nothing else has happened leads me to question what was the actual catalyst behind it. Was it money, power? Because if it was his vision, if you claim he didn't deliver, what have you done to pivot away from said vision? You've done absolutely nothing.
Right. That's a good point.
I think I'm so intrigued. Maybe it's morbid curiosity that, like, with this roster, I could see them just saying, let's see what we have before we make any moves. But I really think they have so many bigs who don't shoot. Like, they need to be the do-operies team. I'd like just get someone in here or bring Chris Boucher back for crying out loud.
I was waiting on it. There it was.
Just get someone in here who can potentially provide some floor spacing at the 4/5 on a consistent basis. It could be a shot in the dark, but please, for the love of everything, take that shot in the dark.
Can I interest you in a slightly used Nikola Vucevic?
Ooh, what's that trade look like? Because they already have Jakob Poeltl, so you're just paying $40 million for Vooch and first of all, Jakob Poeltl is going to get a statue in Toronto, I'm assuming at this point.
They love him, so it might not be that guy coming back. I don't know. Maybe it's a larger framework with RJ Barrett going to Chicago. I don't
Honestly, RJ Barrett for Vooch and Ayo Dosunmu?
Oh, yeah.
Should the Bulls take a flyer on that, or would the Raptors?
I think you've pitched that exact trade at one point, actually.
Oh, have I? I don't.
I think you have, because that rings a bell, and I think we both liked it.
Like Isaac Okoro's now in Chicago, and you have Josh Giddey. I don't really love Barrett's fit there. I also feel bad putting him on the Bulls.
I feel bad about everyone getting drafted or assigned to the Bulls. It's all bad.
It is. So you have RJ under contract for a couple more years, higher upside than Dosunmu or Vooch. So I think you can easily justify it from Chicago's end, knowing that Dosunmu was going to be a free agent. But
right.
I don't know, man. The idea of just having Okoro and Giddey and Barrett on the same team.
Honestly, I just want to know how you get Sandro Mamukelashvili and Colin Murray Boyles on the floor. That's what I need to know. I need to get those 2 minutes, and and if they don't get minutes, I'm going to be pissed.
Do we trust? Because I didn't mention Mamukelashvili, do we trust that he can be the guy that just like plays actual minutes and gets up more threes than we've seen him take?
Yeah, I trust
far?
Mamu. I trust Mamu. I like Mamu.
Then maybe they could just let it ride. If the plan is to actually play him, then maybe you just let it ride.
They need to. Some team needs to eventually. I'm getting really tired of this. Like I literally asked Mitch Johnson in Paris in January, like, why is this dude not playing anymore? And he was like, he was being very polite, but he was like, well, we like how he stays ready, which is always an answer for he's just not playing. And I needed to know why. He's too good. Free Mamu.
He's on the Raptors now. He is in theory free. If you're gonna play him, I guess you just let it ride. I still would like to see Chris Boucher brought back as another.
Of course you do.
Potential. Well, no, but as another potential floor spacer. I just don't know who do you want to boot from this roster.
Have you seen the movie The Prestige?
Yes.
All right. So you remember that machine that just copies every single person, all the Hugh Jackman characters. They just keep getting copied. You want that for Chris Boucher, just for your damn self. That's what you want. You want to be consistently surrounded by Chris Boucher. You want a Chris Boucher on every single goddamn roster in this league. Just own
honestly, if I wasn't so determined to put another wing on the Knicks, I would be advocating like hell for them to sign him, and I still kind of hope they do. But
this is my shocked face. Yes.
I would prefer to see him go somewhere I know he'll play a bunch, and I don't know if that's even Toronto anymore because you have
Germany. Okay. No.
That's what do you have against Chris Boucher?
No. I like Chris Boucher. I have something against. No, I actually don't have something against your eternal optimism about him. I just need to see the vision. Like I need to understand what it is. Does he have something on you, Mr. Favali? Has his agent reached out to you?
Yeah, you know what he has? He has on me. He has his heart, and he has my heart. That's what's happening here.
Okay, God damn it, that was sweet. Fair enough.
I think. I think it'd be nice to have someone other than Mamu who could stretch the floor at that 4-5 spot,
Yeah,
but I just
fair.
don't.
That's fair.
Maybe get rid of Jamison Battle. I know he showed some signs as a shooter last year. We know Garrett Temple's like not going to leave. So if there's an RJ Barrett trade where you somehow wind up with a roster spot, although that seems unlikely at the moment, I would like to see them do that. But I think this team does have a lot of just, these are NBA players. So they're probably in wait and see mode, but we know they're going to duck the tax eventually. And when they do, whether it's this offseason or during the season, I hope they add some stretch to the front court. Or Mamu, how many years ago was it when Mamu played that glorious stretch where it was like 20-something games with the Spurs and he was playing like 20-plus minutes per game? Or was that 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
2 years ago, I think, right?
That was... It wasn't last season. It definitely wasn't the season before. So 2022.
Wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah, Yeah, so he was with the Spurs. Yeah.
Oh, that was the trade year. That was the trade year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Glorious. He got to play 23.3 minutes per game in 19 games with the Spurs. So I was
right after the trade from Milwaukee. Yep.
So the Raptors have their answer at the 5. Trade. They should, after extending Pirtle, they should waive him. I am excited about Jonathan Mogo, but I hate his fit on this roster. It's like a Colin Murray Boyles situation here. So, you have anything else on them?
I do not.
We move on to the final team, the Washington Wizards. I think they're solid offseason, solid draft. My two things with them, let's start here. Are you fine with the center position with the Tristan Vukcevic, and you have Marvin Bagley, and then you have Alex Sarr? Are you okay with them sitting that way, or do you think it'd be nice to have like maybe more of a veteran guy in there who's not Bagley?
I wouldn't hate one more center, primarily because Sarr has been very vocal about wanting to play the 4. So, like, all right, if that's like a sticking
was his favorite
point,
player Anthony Davis growing up? Do we know?
I know, and you know what? Actually, scratch that. If you kind of force him into the center spot and you basically let him out, don't become the next. Well, you want him to become the next Anthony Davis from a skill perspective, but not from like the weird I need to be a 4 ideology. That's just bad. But maybe you just horn him in as a center and say live with it. Fine. But yeah, assuming they want to appease him and play him more as a 4, yeah, they're probably going to need a center. But should they be in a rush? I don't think so. I mean, they're not trying to win right now. They're trying to develop, if anything.
I think I'm probably I mean, it's also just they don't have roster spots at the moment, I guess, which would lead me to my second question. I'm kind of intrigued by Vukcevic, and I say that without being like ironic, to like someone who might be able to provide some stretch there.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, because all their roster spots are taken up right now, and they do have sort of a ton of guard types or even just perimeter types, like after getting Dylan Jones, and as of now, Malachi Branham is still on this roster. And of course, you have Bub Carrington, you have Will Riley, AJ Johnson did some things for them last year. There's Keyshawn George. Would there be any benefit? They already bought out Marcus Smart. Is there any benefit to doing the same with one of CJ McCollum or Chris Middleton? Or are you trying to hold on to both of them and reboot some of the value or use them as mentors?
Mentors. That's why I actually hated they bought out Marcus Smart, but he actively wanted out of that situation. So they did right by him. Thus, they curried favor with some agents. That's never a bad thing.
It's also kind of proof that expiring contracts aren't what they used to be. Just like it seems like you wouldn't normally see a buyout like that in the offseason. Ditto with DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. No, and again with the rules of not being able to sign guys if you're over the second apron to guy, or is that even in the first apron as well? I don't remember.
Well, in the
To
offseason,
guys,
it doesn't matter. So
that's the
that,
point. That's the
oh, yeah.
point because since you can't do that in the regular season, now you got to get that business out of the way earlier.
Oh, that's a great point. So, yeah, it's maybe not a comment on expiring contracts as much as it is the
Right,
era of
exactly.
aprons.
Yeah, exactly. So I would not buy out Chris or CJ, great mentors like those. Like I think you and I have both heard the same things that those guys are great locker room guys, great leaders. That is the right way to establish a culture. That is the right way to establish some, a not a track record. What's the word I'm looking for? A new beginning for young players, just in terms of understanding what it takes to be a successful NBA guy. Like Middleton, former All Star. I just don't think McCollum ever made an All Star team, but he was freaking close. So like high caliber players, they can tell those guys, look, if you want to stick around for 12, 15 years, this is the recipe. This is how you get it done. They're going to act as extended arms of the coaching staffs on the floor in the games. You can never put a price tag on that. That is invaluable. So I just love the process overall from the Wizards here. I'm not sitting here and saying the results are automatically going to be there. Like, I have question marks. Is Trey Johnson the next Jordan Hawkins? Is he the next Ray Allen? That's a legit question. Like, he can fall anywhere between that. Like, Alex Sarr, we still don't know fully what the hell he is. Bilal Coulibaly, also a guy who needs more time. Bob Carrington, still question marks. But the process of having those guys and buying low on Cam Whitmore,
Yeah,
yeah,
great addition.
absolutely. Cam Whitmore, who apparently, according to me, will average 23 points per game this coming season. Book it. Yeah, it's I just yeah.
I think what's tough is one or both of those guys isn't going to finish the season in Washington, but
Probably.
that also would then mean they might have been the vehicle through which the Wizards got more assets by taking on salary, which is what they did at the trade deadline. Like that, I mean, they did it twice last year. They did it with Marcus Smart. They got that pick, and then they got value from the Bucks as part of a Kyle Kuzma trade. So that was like a salary dump on their part, but it was a salary dump on the Bucks' part. It's just so yeah, I'm with you. And I think it helps that if they really want to create a roster spot, Malachi Branham is someone that you could trade like the $5 million salary for another player, or just wait.
Yeah,
him
here you go, random
like,
NBA team. Take Malachi Branham. That should be doable.
Well, no, I meant more so if you need to sign somebody, you waive him. But if it's a trade, like that's a $5 million, you could save a team money because of how far beneath the tax they are right now. So there's like
I was thinking Malachi
player.
Branham just to like the Nets for something. Just all right. No.
Yeah, but I'm saying so if they didn't have another person who felt like an obvious, we could get rid of this roster spot, I would wonder, but I am a big believer in like, okay, you have these two high character guys around, and they're also probably more so. CJ McCollum makes so much money, I'd be surprised if they're both in the 30s. But these are like Chris Middleton to me, I'm still a sucker for. To where it's I could see him, a team really wanting him at the deadline, so they could still have value. But I would have thought that if you made me pick between who would have been easier to trade between Smart or McCollum, I would have picked Smart, and yet he's gone. So I don't think they need to by any stretch, but I'm curious to see, this deviates from the topic, just, well, what does this mean for the rest of the season? Do they just want those guys coming off the books? You get a full year of that mentorship? Or is this a situation they look at buyouts after the trade deadline if they can't move them?
I wouldn't be shocked if it's the mentorship for a full year. Don't underestimate just how much that means to have that consistent presence throughout an NBA calendar year.
I could so see that from the Wizards' perspective, but if you're Middleton or CJ McCollum, and especially if you're not do you expect both of them to play a ton?
I expect them to play a ton. Is a different, like, what is that categorization? I mean, Middleton, we know that he physically is probably best suited for around 20 minutes per game now, right? Like, we know he can't handle 30, 35 minutes anymore. McCollum probably can handle more minutes. I don't know the answer to that, honestly, but I also think that those two guys are not going to make a fuss.
That's interesting because I would just wonder, and the Wizards I don't think are going to need to tank. I think they'll be organically bad.
Yeah.
But if you're CJ McCollum, if you're Chris Middleton and you're healthy, you're not playing a bunch of minutes, the team's not winning, are they at the points in their career where they're content to just spend this entire season being that?
I mean, they
mentally?
collectively have 63 million reasons to be satisfied.
I understand that, but that's not that's not how this works.
I know. I actually just think those two guys are very understanding of how the NBA works. McCollum especially. Like whenever you hear him talk about like the workings of the league, he seems to be very like, oh yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens. I think he gets it. I think he understands that this is actually best for the franchise. Whether he's going to say, hey, that's not best for me, that remains to be seen. I mean,
I think
this is a trait
Middleton's
that
the one who's more likely to say that, if I had to guess.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, pretty good offseason from the Wizards. Well, We'll have to do report card grades at some point. You have anything else before we skedaddle? We did it in almost less than 2 hours.
We certainly did not. No.
Can you tell everyone where they can find you and all the great work that you do, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, you can find my work over at Yahoo Sports, over at Forbes. You can listen to my podcast as the NBA Podcast. And if you speak Danish, you can find my podcast over at BuzzRepeater.
Until next time, and as always, I leave you with the shout out to the one, the only. We're going off script because Mort hates him for no good reason. Shout out Mr. Chris Boucher.